Today we're learning about solving equations using multiplication and division, and you can find this material on pages 85 to 90 of your textbook. This lesson is very similar to the lesson that we did yesterday. We're still talking about using the inverse operation to solve an equation, but this time we're going to solve a division problem by using multiplication and solve a multiplication problem by using division. So let's take a look at some examples. If we have 18 is equal to W divided by 2. Okay, remember first of all that when you see a fraction does mean division. So we want to undo this division by using multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2, or 2 over 1, because 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. So I'll multiply this side, the left side by 2 and the right side by 2. And I can draw my curtain once again. Okay, when I multiply the left side by 2, 18 times 2 is 36. When I multiply the right side by 2, what happens is that my 2's cancel out, and all I'm left with is W over 1, which is the same thing as W. So the answer to my equation is W is equal to 36. Let's do one more. If I have, I'll draw a line here. If I have n over 3 is equal to negative 2/5. Okay? I want to look at the side that the variable's on. The variable is being divided by 3. So instead of dividing by 3, I want to multiply both sides by 3, or 3 over 1, because that's the same thing. When I do this, my 3's cancel out on the left side, and I'm left with n on the left side. On the right, I multiply my fractions together, my negative 2/5 times 3 over 1. I multiply my numerators and get a negative 6. I multiply my denominators and get 5, and that's my final answer. If I could simplify the fraction, I would, but in this case I can't. So that's my final answer. Okay, let's look at another problem. Negative 15b is equal to negative 75. Okay, always remember, you look at the side that has the variable. You look and see what's happening to the variable. And in this problem, the variable is being multiplied by negative 15. In order to undo that, I have to divide both sides by negative 15. Okay, I'm doing the inverse operation. So when I do that, I then realize that these will cancel out, and all I will be left with on the left-hand side is b. And then negative 75 divided by negative 15 is a positive 5, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so that's simple enough. Now we'll look at an example that has a fraction. Okay, so now we're going to look at a more complicated example, and in this example we have negative 1 3/8 k is equal to 2/3. So we have a mixed number on the left-hand side. When we have a mixed number, what we really want to do is change that into an improper fraction. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So that's where we get the 11 here. Our denominator will stay the same, and our negative sign, of course, stays the same. So we changed negative 1 3/8 k into negative 11/8 k. The right side will stay the same for that step. Now in the next step, we look at this and we go, okay, what's happening to k? K is being multiplied by negative 11/8. In order to get rid of the negative 11/8, I have to divide by negative 11/8. And some of you might be going, oh, this sounds really complicated, but not really, because we learned before that division with fractions is really multiplying by the reciprocal, or multiplying by the inverse. So if we multiply by the inverse of negative 11/8, that's negative 8/11. So I multiplied the left side by negative 8/11, and I multiplied the right side by negative 8/11. When I do that on the left side, the 8's cancel out, the 11's cancel out, a negative times a negative becomes a positive. Okay, so I have positive k equals, and then I multiply 2 times negative 8 and get negative 16, 3 times 11 and get 33. So the answer to this problem is k is equal to negative 16/33. So as long as you remember to change those mixed numbers into improper fractions, it really will make it much easier. And it also, as long as you remember that to divide by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its inverse or its reciprocal. And once again, as we've been saying, you have to do the same thing to both sides. If I multiply this side by negative 8/11, I need to multiply that side by negative 8/11. And most importantly, you need to show all your work. I can't give partial credit if I can't see the work that you did to get it. And it's very important that you get used to writing out these steps, because we're going to be moving into two-step equations in the future. And the only way we can do two-step equations is if we know the right way to do one-step equations. So we need to do that. Okay, so that's it for today, and we'll go over this in class tomorrow.